Good morning, everybody. This is Alicia with DentiMax. Today we're going to talk about insurance inside of DentiMax, and I'm going to go through a few different aspects of insurance. Insurance, of course, as you guys all know, is a giant bear of information, and so I'm going to do my best to get through all of the information that I can today. And if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to shoot an email over to the training department as well after the webinar is concluded. The training department email is training@dentmax.com. So to begin, I'm going to go ahead and point out on my homepage, I did create a little insurance section here, and you guys may want to do the same thing. You can customize the homepage, of course, here in your options menu and create a new category. My insurance section has the primary insurance aging report so that you can make sure you're getting paid on your claims in a timely manner. So that's going to give you the report of the outstanding claims. Secondary insurance aging report, which is the same thing but for your secondary claims. The procedures not on a claim report, which are items that are marked as insurable that somehow didn't make it onto a claim form. The insurance utilization report, which will tell you the insurance companies that you're using most often, essentially. A little more information than that, but that's the gist of it. And then a follow-up report that is the detailed follow-up report with the insurance information on it if you are marking any item on the ledger as a follow-up item. So I've got this nice little section laid out here so that I can make sure that we are checking on those things periodically and it's in the forefront of our minds if I'm the one working the insurance. So to begin, I'm just going to go to my patient list and pull up my test patient, and by the last name of test. And we're going to use this little test guy right here, double clicking to open his chart, and we've got a nice photo there, good information on the screen. I'm going to just jump right into the insurance information section, or tab rather. This is where you're going to attach the insurance to the patient. We have a space here for primary insurance and for secondary insurance. If they don't have insurance, you're going to want to leave both of these areas totally blank, exactly how you see them here. If you do put something, even if it's just relationship to subscriber there, the computer now thinks the patient's supposed to have insurance and is going to want to be creating claims or thinking that they should have procedures that should go onto claim forms. And so just to keep things nice and clean, if they don't have insurance, leave the space totally blank. If they only have primary insurance, leave the secondary space totally blank. For primary insurance, just to point out the little check boxes you're seeing here in case there's someone on the line that might not know what those are. The release of information is basically going to fill in signature on file on the insurance claim form where it asks if you have the authorization to submit on behalf of the patient that claim. So you definitely want to have that checked. It's basically your HIPAA acknowledgement that you are okay as a practice to submit insurance for that patient. The assignment of benefits, if you do accept the insurance checks from the insurance company, you want to have that checked. That means the insurance company will pay you. If you uncheck the box, that means the insurance company is going to pay the patient. So depending on your office, you can make that decision. So up here for current insurance information, the patient relationship to the subscriber, the simplest way to do this is to choose self, but to just explain very quickly, if the patient is not the subscriber of the insurance, you just need to select how they're related to the subscriber. So it could be their spouse that's the subscriber, or if this is a child as the patient, then they are the dependent of the subscriber. If I choose something other than self, for example, dependent, the next section down as subscriber lets me choose who the subscriber of that insurance plan is. It does not have to necessarily be a family member attached to this patient. It can be anyone in your database. Obviously, choose the appropriate person, but the point is they don't have to be linked to this account in order for you to choose them as the subscriber of the insurance. So I'm going to go ahead and just select Donald Trump. Actually, let me choose someone that actually has insurance here, and we could go with that. As soon as I choose the subscriber, it does fill in that subscriber's insurance information for me. So always set up the subscriber of the insurance plan first before you link up any dependents or spouses to that plan. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to self, and I'm going to clear this data out. Actually, with my little remove button is very handy. So the primary insurance, when I click the drop down, I get a listing of insurance plans. If you're new to the software, you may not have a listing of insurance plans, but you will quickly build them over time. So the insurance plan list actually has a code that it's searching by. The code is usually created based on the name of the insurance company. So if the insurance company you're looking for starts with a D, for example, Delta, I'm going to type a D here, and it takes me to my D plans, and I can kind of scroll through and find the one I'm looking for. You do see the group name listed here as well, and the group number, and so that will help you narrow in to see if you actually have that group inside of your insurance plan list. And if it does happen to be the same insurance company name, the same group name, same group number, you may choose to select that existing plan in your software for this patient's insurance. You will want to, however, double check the insurance benefits against what you know about that patient's insurance plan and make sure that the covered percents all match. If not, you will want to make a new plan based off of that information that's already in there and have two different plans perhaps with the same group number. That doesn't happen super often, but on occasion there is cases where the same insurance company has the same group and same group number, but they have a high plan and a low plan, and that's how they're distinguishing between the two different sets of coverage based on what that employee chooses. So if I do see the plan that I'm looking for in here, all I have to do is simply click on it, and it fills in the group number for me if that is attached to the insurance plan already, and then I punch in my subscriber ID number. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and create a new plan. So I click the drop-down menu, look for the plan. Perhaps I don't see it. What I'm going to do next is click the little magnifying glass to the right of the primary insurance field. When you click on that, it opens the master list for that field, which in this case is the insurance plan section. At the top of my screen, you'll notice that I do have a couple searchable fields that I've added here that you may not have, such as searching for the plan by employer, searching by group name. I've got group number and phone number of the insurance company as well. I added these fields by clicking Customize Filter, and then I just selected the ones that I wanted. You, of course, don't have to have the same ones I have, so however you're comfortable searching for your insurance plans, feel free to add that to your custom filters and make life a little easier for yourself. If I go to my options menu and just click New Insurance Plan, I want to point out a few things that I have set up on my insurance plan screen. By default, I do have this section at the bottom for frequencies and limitations of the insurance plan. This is where you're going to put in how many exams per year the patient's allowed to have, how many pro-fees per year, there's a missing tooth clause, age limits, all of that really good information that the insurance company tells you. I have this set up as a template in my software, and you can do the same thing in yours. To do so, you're just going to want to click on New Insurance Plan. At the bottom of this section, you'll just type in any information you'd like and kind of set it up, like I said, as a template where you have a space here to populate the answer when you're ready. A lot of people just put in something like this where it just shows exams and then a colon, and then you're able to fill in 1 per 6 months or 2 per year or 2 every 12 floating months, whatever the requirement is from that insurance company. And basically pre-populate this with the data that you're going to be wanting to know, and then when you actually go to use this new plan, it'll populate to fill in your answers. Once you set this section with the pre-populated information, the template, you're going to go to your options menu and click use this data for new insurance plans. Don't save this screen first, because if you do, it will assign an insurance code to this, and you don't want every new plan you create having an insurance code already attached, because of course it's going to make the computer's life a little difficult, and you want that code to default based on the name of the plan. So we're not going to save anything or click anything except use this data for new insurance plans once you're ready. There's a few other things that you might want to set as a default here in this screen. If you are sending electronic claims, you can go ahead and check the box, send electronic claims. If you're using the real-time eligibility through either Apex or DentalXChange, you can go ahead and click use electronic eligibility. And the other item that I typically set as default personally is the fee schedule on the claim. You're going to want that to be your office fees that you're sending out to the insurance company, so that you're billing out the maximum amount possible and that you're getting paid the maximum amount possible. If you're only billing the insurance fees to the insurance company, then you're basically lowering the average of submission for your zip code. And that means when the insurance company goes to evaluate where they need to bump up their payment, that you're not going to have as much room to get bumped up because you're already submitting the insurance fees. So if anyone has further questions on that or wants to talk that out, feel free to, again, send me an email and we can set up a time to chat about it a little bit further. But the fee schedule on your claim form should typically be your office fees. Again, once you have the data set up here that you want as far as a default, when you click new insurance plan, go ahead and click that button, use this data for all new insurance plans. I'm going to go ahead and get out of there and talk about another option here. So my test patient happens to have Apple for their employer for their insurance. And so Apple has Delta Dental for insurance. I have a number of Delta Dental plans, as you can see here, but none of them say Apple, which I could search by employer right up here at the top since I've added that. And as you can see, I've got nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out again. Since I don't have Apple attached as a group name to any of these insurance plans, I want to go ahead and create that plan. However, I can be a little bit lazy, and creating insurance plans can be very time consuming. So I don't want to have to start from scratch. Let's go ahead and say that Apple works with Delta Dental of Arizona, since I'm here in Arizona. Down here at the bottom, you can see I have a number of Delta of Arizona plans. What I'm going to do is find the appropriate address attached to Delta Dental of Arizona, and if this is the address that I want to send my claims to for this patient, I'm just going to select that plan, go to my options menu, and click copy this plan. When I do so, it actually makes a duplicate of that insurance plan, saves me a lot of typing, and now I have a new insurance plan here under DEL 16 that I can go ahead and click edit on. So save yourself a little bit of trouble and go ahead and make a copy of an insurance plan if the information mostly lines up and you just need to tweak a few things. Now we have the opportunity to edit the information. So group name, I'm going to once again go ahead and put in Apple. Employer, I'm going to choose my Apple employer as well. And just backing up a second, if Apple does offer a few different plans and they happen to all have the same group number, the group name is where you're going to want to distinguish which plan this is. So if there's a high option and a low option, you might do something like this. Group name is Apple High or Apple Low. Sometimes there's not a different name to the different plans inside that group, and so what some people do is put in some information as to how that plan is covered. It's the 180/50 plan, or it's the 160/40 plan, something like that, just to visually, again, identify the two different plans from each other. We're just going to go ahead and leave this as Apple. I would plug in their group number, which of course we get off of their ID card or by calling the insurance company. And then here you can see I've got a fee schedule section. This is separate from the fee schedule on the claim form. The fee schedule that you choose here is going to be the contracted fee schedule for that insurance company if you choose to use it. If you do not populate that area with anything, you're going to have the office fees in that space by default, or whatever is your number one fee schedule. That fee schedule is what populates the patient's ledger with fees against each charge. So if you are in network with the insurance plan, you can't charge the patient more than the contracted amount, which is why you can go ahead and put the contracted fees on the patient's ledger. However, your claim form, once again, will still be billing your full office fee or your UCR fee so that you are collecting the most amount possible. You do not have to attach the insurance fee to the patient's ledger if you don't wish to. One of the benefits of doing so is that the computer will then calculate what the patient owes based on this contracted fee schedule instead of based on your office fee. We all know that 80% of the insurance fees is a lot less than 80% of your office fees. So I like to have my system calculate more directly based on what the patient owes, not based on my office fee. So I like to have the insurance fee schedule here. The other added benefit to that is you don't have to post a write-off in most cases if you are in network with that insurance plan, if you have their insurance fees already on the patient ledger, because basically it already is the discounted fee schedule. Some people will comment to me and say, well, how do I show the patient the discount that they're getting then if I don't have the office fee and then adjust it off? If you do print out that treatment plan estimate for the patient ahead of time, there is a report in there that says treatment estimate standard fee. That report actually shows your office fee, and then right next to it shows the contracted insurance fee for the patient based on you putting it right here in this space. It then shows the insurance estimate and patient estimate. So I'd suggest printing that out ahead of time for the patient while you're discussing their treatment plan with them, letting them sign that and see the discount beforehand, and then on their ledger they'll see that adjusted fee already. Again, if you have any other questions about that after the webinar, feel free to email training@dentimax.com and we can clarify a few more points on that if you need it. We have a space here for payer ID number. Of course, that is coming from your clearinghouse, or it's on the back of the patient's insurance card. The payer ID number is essentially the electronic address for this insurance company. If you don't have a payer ID number on the insurance card, or the patient didn't bring their insurance card, what we can do is bookmark our screen down here in the bottom left corner, go to the home page, and on the home page I have both Apex and DentalXChange, the two partners that we work with as clearinghouses, set up under my web links category. So if I need to look up the payer ID number, I can click on one of these. There we go, there's DentalXChange, and I can go to the payer list, or right here on the left hand side you have payer list as well, and that gets you there a little more quickly. Just going to switch over and see if we can get there from Apex. You guys may or may not have one of the two of these already in your office, and so depending on what you have, of course, add that one to your homepage so you have it as a quick resource to get to. So I went to dental, went to payers list, and I'm going to click on dental payers there. And now I can do a search if I'd like to for Delta and find Delta Dental of Arizona. And here's the payer ID column, and find 86027 and know that that's what I need to plug in as the payer ID number. You can verify the claims mailing address here as well, and then off to the right, the little green dot on Apex's website is indicating that that company does participate with these items. So they do participate with e-claims, or they accept e-claims. They do participate or accept ERAs, and then they also do the real-time eligibility with Delta Dental of Arizona. So that's how you can get some really good information on the fly from one of your clearinghouses that we partner with. I'm going to go ahead and pick up back on that insurance plan, and we can see that is the correct payer ID number for that company, and move on to insurance type. Here I can go ahead and choose a couple of options. They really have narrowed the field, so it's easy to see what pertains to Delta. Right here we have Delta. If it's not a Medicaid, Delta, or Blue Cross plan or Medicare, it's most likely a commercial plan. So if you have Guardian or Principal, MetLife, one of those companies, you're going to go ahead and choose commercial for the insurance type. And here obviously I'm going to choose Delta. I do have a space for a subcategory. This is basically a free-form space that you can populate with any information you'd like. You can then run different insurance reports based on this category to include or exclude the companies that have this information. So for example, I can put in PPO, and on every single one of my PPO insurance plans have that listed there. Then I can run an insurance report and put in show me only the category of PPO plans. And then I just get all my PPO plans on one report with that information. So that is a way for you to tag the insurance plan with specific info that you can then track on a report. The eligibility ID number is essentially the electronic address for this insurance plan. So if I click this little ... button and you have signed up for real-time eligibility, what that would typically do, and sorry, mine is not live at the moment, but it would open up a little pop-up window and it'll have a listing of Delta Dental plans. You select the one that should be attached to this insurance company that you're adding, and that will populate the eligibility ID number so that you can get real-time eligibility from that insurance company, again, if you've signed up for that service. If you have not signed up for that service, you're going to want to leave that space blank and do not select use electronic eligibility. Otherwise, you'll keep getting a pop-up that asks you to populate the information or tells you that the information is not complete. Moving on down here towards the bottom, we have different information that populates your claim forms in different boxes. If, for example, there's one insurance company that in box 48, instead of having the provider information, they'd like the practice information, you can go ahead and change that detail right here. Or in box 58, instead of a tax ID number, maybe they want your Blue Cross ID number. You are able to go ahead and change that per insurance plan based on what that insurance company would like to have. So just keep that in mind if you're needing that information. Down here at the bottom, when I made a copy of the insurance plan, it did pull over the frequencies and limitations of that other Delta plan that I copied from. If this does not match my patient's plan that I'm plugging in, and I could check that with my real-time eligibility, I'm going to go ahead and make changes here. So perhaps in this space, they get 3 exams per year, and only 2 can be periodic exams, which is that D0120 code. Perhaps they do get 2 pro fees allowed per year. Maybe they also get 2 sets of bite wings per year, and then a full mouth series of x-ray once every 3 years, debridement once every 3 years as well. And we could remove this takes the place of a pro fee if that doesn't apply with this particular insurance plan. And then perio maintenance, $49.10 every 3 months. Root planing and scaling, we could go ahead and fill out the rest of this information based on that insurance plan. And then we'll move on to the coverage tab here. By the way, this note section does populate throughout the software in a few different places. One of the places it shows up is on the chart screen. The other place it shows up is on the patient's ledger. And then the third place it's available is on the recall screen. So we've designed the software to where it gives you that information in the different screens that you need it the most while you're treatment planning or trying to see what the patient should have next, that sort of thing. So moving forward to the coverage tab, this is where we're going to plug in any deductibles for the patient. If they have the standard 50/150 for family deductibles, you're going to put the individual here next to standard and then the family here as well. Some insurance companies do have a preventative deductible nowadays, and so if that's the case, you can go ahead and put in what that preventative deductible is. If the preventative deductible only applies to x-rays, then the bottom section here is where we're going to separate out the x-rays from the rest of this code range. And then we're going to indicate that a preventative deductible does apply to that specific set of codes, which would just be the x-rays. In this case, we're going to keep it a little bit simple and we're going to leave it blank. The other deductible may be anything other than the other information, haha. It may pertain to orthodontics. A lot of times they have a separate ortho deductible, and so therefore down here at the bottom you can see ortho has the other deductible applied. If it does say other or preventative and those spaces are left blank, what that means is there's no deductible for those items. Here in the middle box, we're looking at a deductible reset month. Really, that's the date that the plan or the month that the plan renews, so that the patient has new insurance benefits or when it rolls over. So you can go ahead and choose the month according to that plan. The maximum individual benefit is the max for the year. Maximum family benefit, if they do have a family max as well, you can plug that in. Alternatively, if most of your plans do not have a family max and you want to put in an ortho max here instead, feel free to use that space for that information. The box over here to the right is the insurance estimate calculation. The proper way to calculate what the patient owes is this top item, although that is the default, so you do not have to select this. You can just leave this totally blank. But if you are in the habit of choosing something, choose the top box. You're going to take the total fee minus a copay if there is one, and then multiply the percentage of coverage after that. And then the copay column is listed here. So if there's no copay on the plan, this information is totally irrelevant. And again, it is okay to leave both of these little boxes unselected, and the computer will automatically calculate based on this top equation. The coverage table is what we're looking at here, and some of you may have checked out the default coverage table, which is under the setup screen. So I'm just going to go there real quick by clicking setup and then setup default coverage table. This default coverage table, if I edit it, is basically what's populating every new insurance plan as you click new plan. If you're making a copy of an existing plan, you're actually copying the coverage table that's already attached to that existing plan. You are not getting the default coverage table, although there's a possibility they're one and the same. The default coverage table is here, and you are able to manipulate it, and by doing so, that's going to perhaps help you down the line. So there is occasion where an insurance plan will take the D4910, which is your perio maintenance, and instead of paying that at 80% like the rest of your perio category, they might pay that at 100% and count it as one of the pro fees for the patient. I'm going to go ahead and bookmark this screen and go back to our insurance plan real quick. So I am able to change that information on the insurance plan itself and say for this particular insurance plan only with Delta Dental of Arizona through Apple, I'm going to be able to add a new coverage line and put the 4910 on its own line. If you find that that's happening more frequently, instead of setting that per plan each time, that's where you're going to want to change it on your default coverage table. So going back to the default coverage, to manipulate this, what I would do is insert a new coverage line. That gives me a blank line to work with. And then I put in the code range that I want to be attached here. So I'm going to put in the D4910. And I only want to isolate that one code. So I put the start and end range with the same code. I'm going to put in a description and just put in perio maintenance. And then say that by default, I want every new insurance plan to show that that's covered at 100%. I can plug in a copay if there is one, and that's mainly for HMO plans that you're dealing with. This is not the patient portion. It's just a copay that they pay a flat fee every time they walk in the door. And then a deductible if one would apply. Now, if they're counting this as a preventative procedure and there's no deductible, we're going to want to go ahead and choose the preventative deductible to attach to that. Now, one thing that you also have to do, aside from just putting that line in on its own, is we need to segregate that code from this code range, because otherwise the computer has the code in this default coverage table twice, and that is giving the computer conflicting information. So to do so, I just take this existing code range, D4210, and I'm going to choose the option that comes right before the 4910, which would be the 4381. Now the 4910 is not part of this code range, but I still have a gap where the other codes need to go back in. So I'm going to insert a coverage line once again, and then I'm going to put in whatever comes right after the 4910, and that's going to be the 4920. And then put in the ending code range, which is the final 4000 code 4999. And give it a name, put in a default covered percent and a copay if it applies, and then a standard deductible or whatever type of deductible applies. So now if we just look at the 4000 codes I have laid out here, we have 4210 to 4381, 4910, and then 4920 through 4999. That is how we can isolate a specific code and have the computer load that code separately by default onto every single insurance plan that we create. You will notice that I did the same here for Night Guard. That's a common one as well that you might want to segregate from the 9000 codes. Also, implants, a lot of times there's different codes inside of that implant code range that you may want to pull out. Another example of codes I've pulled out is the posterior composites. There are a lot of insurance companies that do downgrade the posterior composites, and so if that seems to be the more common versus not, then you definitely want to set up those codes separately from the regular composite codes, because that ends up being covered at about 60% of the allowed amount instead of 80% like they're telling you after they downgrade it. So this is one way that you can calculate posterior composites or other items that get downgraded a little bit better, is just by reducing that by approximately 20% from what they tell you they cover it at if there is a downgrade. I'm going to go ahead and save our changes on the default coverage table, and then I'm going to work my way back to that insurance plan. And if I want that default coverage table to be attached to this insurance plan, I'm just going to go to Load Default Coverage and then select the default coverage table and click Select. And now we have the more thorough version of the coverage. If I go back to Load Default Coverage Table, some of you might have caught that there is another coverage table here, and I'm just going to open it up to show you. I have this called my zero coverage, and I didn't get very far in creating it, but you can create another default coverage table and name it something else for your different types of insurance plans. For example, if you're an office that takes PPOs and HMOs, this is a really good way for you to have a coverage table that handles the HMO plans separately from how you handle your PPO plans without having to set it up per plan every time. If you'd like more information or to talk about that further, again, shoot an email over to training@DentiMax.com. I'm going to move on to the Payment Information tab and take a look at this. So when we talk about downgrading procedures, one of the things that happens is you try and estimate approximately what the insurance company is going to pay, and you try your best to tell your patient that you don't know until they actually pay. But it would be great if you're able to keep that information on file and be able to refer to it or have the computer refer to it. The Payment Information tab is designed to do just that. You can manually add payment history here, or you can have it auto update when you're posting your insurance payment. So the purpose of this is for you to plug in a code, for example, a D2392 posterior composite, which is often downgraded, and then under payment amount, I type in exactly what this insurance plan pays me for that code. You do want to set up the insurance plans if you're collecting money ahead of time for the patient instead of after the procedure by group number and get down to the specific information of that coverage detail, because you do want the computer to be able to calculate properly per each patient, not per insurance company, what the patient's going to owe per code. So here, for example, on the 2392, I can say that Apple's high insurance plan pays $56.79 for that code. And so then we've got it right here in our memory bank. And then even though the computer would typically calculate 60% of that code of the fee schedule, instead it's going to automatically go to saying that the insurance company is going to pay you $56.79. So we call that blue booking in the dental world. If some of you have heard of that, this is where we do that, is under the payment information. And again, when you're posting the insurance payment, you do have an opportunity with the little green dot, update that information then as well. I'm going to go ahead and save my changes for this new insurance plan I just created. And we'll go ahead and attach it to our patient. And it's already pre-selected in blue, so I'm just going to hit select insurance plan. Then we just plug in their ID number and save our changes. Okay. Moving on to the next phase of insurance, I want to go ahead and post some charges to our test patient. So I'm going to go up to Ledger, and of course we get our nice little medical flash alert pop-up. And once I get here to the patient's ledger, you guys can see that under billing information, we do not have any insurance plans being displayed here, although we know we just attached an insurance plan. A lot of people will call and tell us, hey, I just added a new insurance plan or changed an insurance plan for this patient, and it's not showing up on the ledger. The reason for that is the computer will generate essentially a different ledger for the patient when they switch insurance plans. You still access it from the same ledger button. However, we call those billings in our system. So what I'm going to do is deselect show all recent and open billings, and I am able to toggle between different billing numbers or ledgers that were once created. They will have different dates attached to them. That's the day that new ledger was opened, so to speak. So for example, I'm going to go to 4/11/16, and the patient didn't have any charges then. I chose patient without any history. Let me jump to somebody else for a better example. On SAIDS, we can see that we're looking at billing or ledger number 695. That was opened on 4/8/16. If I click the little billing drop-down menu, she doesn't have any other billings. However, this billing number is attached to Delta Dental of Illinois, and she has secondary through Delta of California. If she changes insurance plans, what I want to do is change her insurance information on the patient info screen, and then go back to her ledger and open a new billing. Once I click new billing, it's going to refresh with the new insurance information, and then I'm able to post the new charges to the new billing or the new ledger. Therefore, the computer does remember what the patient had for insurance 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. You are able to retain that insurance information as you go back through the different billing numbers here. I'm just going to go back to our test patient. Our test patient does not have any insurance attached because they previously did have a different billing number, although all the charges associated with that billing have been wiped out. So at this point, what I'm going to do is click New Billing, because we do have insurance attached to the patient now. And once I click New Billing, it assigns a new billing number with today's date, and it grabs the insurance that's on their patient information screen and attaches it to their ledger. Once I have that information attached to their ledger, I can go back and show their entire account by clicking Show All Recent and Open Billings. Now I'm able to go ahead and click New Transaction and post my charges, and know that those charges are going to be going to Delta Dental instead of being attached to a ledger that does not have insurance on it. So here we've got Delta Dental, one charge going to Delta for a crown for $650. That is Delta Dental's contracted fee. Once again, on the claim itself, we're going to see the office fee. And so of the $650 balance, the patient is estimated to owe $350, and we're estimating Delta to pay $300. Next to Delta, you'll notice there's the little note paper. If I click on that, that is the frequencies and limitations of the insurance plan that we set up on the insurance plan itself. And I am able to click on Delta Dental of Arizona. That is a hyperlink, and that takes me directly to that insurance plan where I can verify the fee schedule or the coverage if I need to look at that. From here, we can see they do have a $50 deductible and crowns are paid at 50%. So if I close out, this $350 is their $50 deductible plus 50% of the procedure. So that's where the estimate is coming from as to how much money you should be asking the patient for. At this point, I'm just going to go ahead and create my claim by clicking Create Claim in the Options menu. You can create claims in bulk from the claim screen instead of creating them one patient at a time if you'd like to. I like to do it one patient at a time so I can verify that the claim has passed our validation process and I'm not missing something silly like the patient's date of birth. If they're a new patient and they didn't fill it in and I forgot to ask already, this is a really good cue to me. Hey, you need to get more information. I'm going to go ahead and say yes to view the claim. And once we have that pulled up, you will be able to see this is their test patient going to Delta of Arizona. And I do want to point out on the claim form, again, that D2750 code is getting charged out at $1,000 on the claim, but only $650 on the patient's ledger. If I scroll down a little bit, you guys can see that we do have a section here for remarks, and this is where you could type in a narrative directly onto the claim form. However, we do partner with NEA, and you are able to attach any kind of attachment to this claim that you might need, such as an x-ray or the doctor's narrative, or perhaps a perio chart if this were for scaling and root planing. So I'm going to walk through the NEA process with you all real quick. So if I click on the NEA Fast Attach tab from this claim, I can, number one, check the attachment requirements. Currently, again, my system's not live, so I won't be able to show you everything that it would give you, but I'll be able to talk you through it. Once you click Check Attachment Requirements, right here under Attachments Required, it would tell you for each code on that claim what attachments you should be having. The next step is to add the attachments after you know what you're adding. In this case, with a crown, I'm going to attach an x-ray and a narrative. So I'll click Add Attachment, and then I'm going to go to Attach a Clinical Note or a Narrative, and we could suppose that the doctor's already filled that in today. Once I choose that option, I hit Continue. It shows me all of the different clinical notes that we have in the software for the patient. And hopefully the doctor, again, would have made the note already. And let's go ahead and pretend that this is the clinical note, and we would see by tooth number and by date that that's the note we want to use. And I just click the little Use box next to that note and hit the Attach button. So now down here under Attachments, we've got a narrative. Then if I want to also attach an x-ray, once again I click Add Attachment. I can find either an FMX, a Pano, or a single x-ray. You have the option once you choose x-ray to choose bite wings or PAs, and perhaps I choose a PA and hit the Continue button. If you do have DentiMax imaging, you will have a third option in this little pop-up box, which will say Choose from DentiMax imaging. Since, again, my system's not totally live, I'm going to actually take a screenshot of the patient's x-rays. So I choose Screenshot and hit Continue. And then I can pull up their x-rays through my little tooth icon and view images by date. And let's just go ahead and say this is the x-ray we want to capture. I can go ahead and then click Take a Screenshot, and it's captured my whole screen. I am then able to crop out what I don't want. So I'm going to expand the window just a little bit, capture the area I do want, and then hit my crop button. Now I've cropped the x-ray in. Down here I can put in the tooth number that this is pertaining to, maybe change the date of the image if it wasn't taken today, add a note if I'd like to, and save my changes. And now we've got a PA and a narrative directly attached to our patient. Once you've finished adding attachments, next you would click Upload Attachments to Fast Attach. And again, this is where the computer is not going to walk all the way through, but it basically sends those attachments over to NEA, and then you would open Fast Attach to send attachments to the insurance. So from here, you would get that screen that tells you that attachment is ready to send, and you just click the Send button inside of NEA. After you hit that Send button, you can then click Check Attachment Status here inside of DentiMax, and it'll actually give you the NEA receipt number down here at the bottom and have that attached to your claim. So it's very easy to add attachments. You just click through down these buttons one at a time, and you should complete the process. Once that's done and you have your NEA number, you can go ahead and close the screen because you're done with making your attachment to the claim. At the end of the day, go to the claims screen and you'll find that your claim is there ready to bill. To send that claim electronically, since you've already sent the attachment out, you just click Send eClaims. Once I click that, it's going to just zip out, and in this case it wants me to log in to Apex. Again, I'm not totally live with the information, so that's why we're seeing some of these boxes. After you hit the Send button, you will get this pop-up that says Update the Claim Billing Status. You do want to say yes if you sent the claim. What that'll do is change that claim status from ready to bill to say that it was actually billed out. That's how the computer knows that you sent the claim and not to send it again. So if you do have a clearinghouse that you're sending claims through, make sure you change that. Otherwise, you're going to be paying every time you send that claim out, which is no bueno. I'm going to go ahead and since we created this claim, we now have a little note here that shows primary claim electronically sent to the insurance company. And at this point, what we're going to do is post our insurance payment. So a couple more things here before I actually post that payment. I do want to point out on my screen I have customized my view, which you can do also by right-clicking on the screen and go to Customize View, and then selecting what you would like to see and moving it to the right of the screen, clicking OK, and now we can see our claim number here, for example. In my custom view, I've added the check number for the patient, and I've added the Insurance 1 Paid and Insurance 2 Paid boxes as well. This is showing me that either the secondary insurance is already paid or they don't have secondary insurance, which is the case here. Insurance 1 Paid, the box is open because they have not paid yet. Once they do pay and we post the payment, that box will automatically be checked off. So I'm going to go to my options menu and click New Insurance Payment, and then plug in a check number, plug in the dollar amount that they paid us, and then once I hit Distribute or Save, that payment's already recorded. So if you get this far and hit Distribute and then you have to cancel out and you're not able to fully distribute that, make sure you don't repost it. You can go to the payment screen, find the payment in here under today's date, and then edit that payment and continue distributing that payment. Please don't repost it or you will have multiple checks in there with the same check number and basically creating unapplied deposits. So once I hit Distribute, it takes me to my EOB entry screen, and I am able to see that this is for our test patient with their Delta Dental of Arizona plan, and then it's a total check of $300. Currently, we've not posted any of that. If it turns out that they paid you exactly what the insurance was estimated to pay you per item, you can use your easy button and click Distribute to Estimate. In that case, it takes $300 and automatically applies it where it was expecting $300. So this, if you have multiple transactions, is going to break it down per transaction exactly what the computer had calculated that the insurance company should pay you for that item. If it turns out that that's not how they paid you, you can then just delete the payment and manually type it in, against each of the transaction codes based on how the EOB says they paid you, instead of based on what the computer was calculating. If the insurance company pays you differently than what the computer was expecting, for example, they paid $290 instead of $300, you will get this little green dot, which is where you can update automatically the payment history for that insurance plan. So if I were to click on the green dot, what it's going to do is tell me the payment amount does not match the previous payment amount of $325 from this insurance. Do you want to update the expected payment amount to be $290 going forward instead of the $300 that's here, or the $325 that the computer remembered? The reason this is $300 instead of the $325 is, of course, because a deductible was planning to be applied to this item. So in that case, where there's a deductible applied, you do not want to update the payment history, because that is the exception to the rule, not the rule. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and say no. And we would put in our insurance payment once again, put in a deductible if they did apply one there. Sometimes you will see the computer automatically adds a little grayed out deductible in that space. If there's a deductible applied there, go ahead and leave it. If not, then take it out. And then if we did not post the insurance's fee on that patient's ledger and we had to do a write-off, this is where you're going to plug that write-off in. For example, $100. In this case, since we already have the contracted fee of the insurance plan on the ledger, I don't have to adjust their bill down any further, because we're already there. If you do mark this item as a follow-up item, it will then show up on your follow-up report, which I made reference to on the home page. And then we have a little space for a note as well if you'd like to attach a ledger note to this transaction. I just click inside this box, say yes to create a billing note, and then I have different note codes that I'm able to use, and perhaps you've created new note codes, which you can do through the magnifying glass. I'm just going to select note and plug in my note here, deductible applied, and I want that to print on the patient's statement, so I'm going to check that box, save my changes. Now I've got a little note box attached to the charge. I'm going to post my payments and close the screen. Once you hit post and close, it walks you backwards, and you can see that the original amount is $300. That's how much you said the check was for, and that does match what was distributed. So if these two numbers match, you are balanced, and you can go ahead and close the screen. If they didn't match, you'd want to open that payment back up and see what you did wrong. So now on the patient's ledger, I can see my charge. The charge was for $650. I can see a deductible was applied to that, and the insurance paid $300 with this check number. And then again, under the summary view, insurance paid $300. So $650 minus $300 is $350. And I can toggle back to my summary view here, or look at the detailed view. The detailed view is where you're going to see the breakdown of the payment itself, instead of just seeing that there was a total payment made. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and once again take a pause and see if anybody has any questions for me. And it looks like we do perhaps have a couple. Hello there, and let's see, our question is, how do you create another claim to submit to secondary insurance after already creating the claim and sending it to primary insurance? So that is a really great question, and I did not attach secondary insurance to the patient. However, if you did already have secondary insurance attached to the patient, and once you post that primary insurance claim, or payment rather, you'll get a prompt that says there is secondary insurance. Do you want to create the secondary claim now? That's when you would say yes. If you miss that prompt and get out of that screen, you can come to the patient's ledger and select the item that you want a secondary claim for, and then go to print claim. And sorry, it looks like I've got mine set to just automatically print. I'm trying to see if I have someone with secondary insurance. So let me pull this one up. Okay, so our George Bush patient does have primary and secondary insurance. So either from the ledger or from the claim itself, if you miss that auto prompt, what you can do is go to print claim. Here, I'm able to choose which claim report I'd like to generate. In this case, I would choose my 2012 secondary claim form. Then I would click the OK button. Once you choose the secondary claim form, it's going to flip the primary and the secondary insurance data in the print view of that claim. The print preview may not show the data is flipped, but if you do print it all the way, you can get that secondary claim. Sometimes you are able to send that electronically, and of course you have to add your NEA attachment and have the EOB scanned in. To send it electronically, the primary claim has to say something other than ready to bill. If it says ready to bill, it's still going to want to send the primary claim instead of the secondary claim. So make sure that the primary claim says billed or paid, something to that effect. And then the secondary claim status has to say ready to bill. So primary says something other than ready to bill, secondary says ready to bill, and then when you hit send e-claims, it should go out with your regular claims, but it'll be the secondary version of that. Okay, I'm just going to check and see if there's any other questions. I know we're right here at the end. Okay, you are so welcome. If there are any other questions that I can help with, again, please feel free to email training@dentmax.com. But everybody, thanks for joining me. I really hope that helped clear up a few things and gave you some extra tools to work with in the software that maybe you didn't know existed or you were underutilizing, and we are here to help you. So feel free to reach out for anything that you guys need. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.